If my videos haven't bothered you in the past, I'm sure this one's going to. All right, so there are 5 things that most people do not know about gluten, and we're going to cover everything from celiac all the way down to glyphosate. Hi, my name is Phil. I'm with Silver Fern Brand. We are a digestive health company. So let's start off with the basics. Celiac. Let's just start blowing shit up at the front of the video. So celiac disease. Here's a fact. 30 to 40% of people in the United States have the gene for celiac. They do. But only 3% of people actually end up with celiac. Why is that? Well, in simple terms, it's because the genes load the gun, but dysbiosis, leaky gut, inflammation, regulatory T cell dysfunction, dendritic cell dysfunction, and macrophage dysfunction is what pulls the trigger and causes you to actually have celiac. So yes, the gene component is a part of that, but what actually caused the trigger to be pulled was basically several other factors, not the genes, okay? So here's a fact. The person that trained me, the gastroenterologist that trained me on digestive health and how to use the immunoglobulins and the process and flow of how she would do gut health related stuff, specialized in celiac and non-gluten or non-celiac gluten sensitivity and autoimmune issues. And she would emphatically state that you could put celiac into remission and people could eat gluten, but at the very least, a person, and I know that's going to blow people up, but that's what she used to say. And she also used to say emphatically, at the very least, by correcting the issues that caused celiac, the trigger to be pulled in the first place, at the very least, a person will be able to, if they encountered gluten, not have the reactions to it, okay? What does this mean? Well, if you look at what causes any autoimmune issue to be triggered, that trigger to be pulled away from genetics, once again, dysbiosis, leaky gut, inflammation, regulatory T cell dysfunction, also called TREG dysfunction, dendritic cell dysfunction, and macrophage dysfunction, those are the causes. If you address those, so you clean up the gut, you seal the gut, you restore healthy inflammatory responses, you activate and you correct TREG dysfunction issues, dendritic cell dysfunction issues, and you increase those, and then you correct how they're functioning, and macrophage function, you can basically retrain the immune system to be tolerant, so it's not intolerant. So a different example would be my wife has Hashimoto's. She still tests for Hashimoto's. Obviously that affects the thyroid. She still takes thyroid medication, though her doctor has reduced the thyroid medication. Does she still test for Hashimoto's? Yes. Does she have all the signs and symptoms of Hashimoto's? She doesn't. It's in remission. Now, so I would argue in support of what we were trained when we learned about how celiac works. At the very least, you shouldn't just chalk shit up to being like, well, I have celiac and so my life is shitty. I would at the very least looked at what causes it, what the problem is, and see if you can't rebuild the immune system, train the immune system, and help the gut so that you don't have reactions to, say, hidden gluten like you normally would, right? And you can research this, and I'm not pitching a product on this. We help with autoimmune stuff all the time. I'm just stating the facts, okay? Number 2. Obviously, this will probably bother people too. Non-celiac gluten sensitivity. A lot of the reaction that people with non-celiac gluten sensitivity have, the majority of the reaction isn't actually to gluten or to gliadin to be specific. It's actually to fructan. It is a FODMAP issue. It's not necessarily a gliadin issue. It's not an issue in response to the severity of the response most likely is not because of the gliadin, it's because of the fructan, which is a FODMAP. Now, the easy way to tell whether you have both or you actually have a fructan issue is you buy fruits and vegetables that don't have any gluten in them, so no gliadin, and that have fructan in them, and you try that. If you have a reaction, you have a fructan issue. What do we suggest for that? We suggest Bloat Gas Relief. Now, I do have a product for that. If you have a fructan issue, you take Bloat Gas Relief. The quantity of the food determines the amount of enzymes you take. So if you're taking a whole bunch of a product that may have a lot of fructan in it or FODMAPs, you want to take more enzymes at the beginning of the meal. You don't resolve the problem after the problem happens. So you want to take the 1 to 3 enzymes, once again, small, medium, large, 1 enzyme, 2 enzymes, 3 enzymes, depending on the amount. You take it at the front of the meal. This product absolutely crushes it for FODMAP issues. Once again, a lot of people that have non-celiac gluten sensitivity actually have a fructan issue. Either meaning they probably still have they still may be reacting to gluten, true, but they may also have a fructan issue. Okay, so number 3, this one should really light people on fire. Okay, a lot of people will see the fact that we have a Gluten Comfort product, and it breaks down gliadin. It breaks down the protein in gluten products. Okay. And we say for people that have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, this is what the product is for, that they would take 1 to 3 capsules. Once again, hidden gluten, medium, so 1, 2, and 3, depending on the amount of gluten you're eating, before the meal or at the beginning of the meal, right? But here's also a fact. If you're rapidly breaking down gliadin and you're taking it at the beginning of the meal, can that help reduce the symptoms or the immune response associated with gliadin or gluten? Yes, that's also a fact. So when people are like, oh my hell, you can't say that enzymes will help with celiac. I'm like, I'm not saying people that have celiac disease shouldn't do a gluten-free diet. They should do a gluten-free diet. Here's also a fact, and you have to admit this. There is hidden gluten in many gluten-free products and foods. And when you go out to eat, there is possibility of engaging hidden gluten. That's a freaking fact. Here's another fact. If you break down the gliadin in those foods effectively and aggressively, the hidden gluten, just work with me here, then you can, in fact, help reduce the symptoms. If you really want to kick the shit out of it, also science-based, you would pair cleanse, because the immunoglobulin in cleanse binds gliadin. So if I were really trying to be thorough with somebody and I really wanted to help somebody that was scared shitless, my language, I'm so sorry, but that was scared of going to eat and they were freaking out about eating and they were like, I am so scared I'm gonna get gluten, I'd be like, I got you covered. Take 3 of these at the beginning of the meal and take about 4 to 8 of these at the beginning of the meal. You should be covered. Binds gliadin, rapidly breaks it down. So you got a coverage. Now, am I suggesting people do that? I'm not saying people shouldn't eat a gluten-free diet for all of you people that get triggered for everything. I'm just simply saying this is how you might be able to go out and eat and not freak out about hidden gluten, okay? Next, while I'm on a roll, I'm just rolling along here, okay? Leaky gut. Does gluten cause leaky gut? Does it affect the tight junctions and whatnot in the gut barrier? The answer is yes, but here's also the truth. Most of those research studies that show severe issues in the gut barrier associated with celiac and IBD, autoimmune issues. They're not associated with like just normal people. Now, do normal people that do not have celiac and that do not have IBD, will gluten affect the tight junctions? Sure, 100%. But so will about 1 million other things at the same level, from stress to medications to just eating artificial sweeteners and all kinds of stuff. So if you're going to avoid gluten because you're worried about that it's going to affect the gut barrier when you don't have celiac and you don't have IBD issues, shit, you might as well avoid everything. The answer I would give to that is build the damn gut barrier, work on your gut health, and stop being scared of everything. That's just a shitty way to live. Finally, glyphosate. Is glyphosate real? Yes. Is glyphosate in way more foods than just gluten? Yes, it is. It's in all kinds of oats and rye. Hell, it's even in meat products. Unless you're eating organic across the board, you're going to run into all kinds of glyphosate in other products, and you might find it. You might find other toxins and other things in other foods that'll have a similar effect on immune response. So just running away because gluten has glyphosate, shit, you might as well avoid everything. My suggestion, once again, build the gut. Correct the imbalances in the gut, strengthen the gut barrier daily, and help reduce inflammation in your gut system. And then obviously eating healthy is super good. I agree with that. But being scared at everything and fighting over teeny tiny things in life and being worried about it, that's just a shitty way to live. Once again, sorry if I bothered people. These are the facts as I see them. Tough. Bye.